just to All right, so just to introduce myself, a lot of you know me already because I already contacted you. I'm Hannah Holbrook, the Chief Impact Officer for Symbiotic. I recently graduated from the University of Maine Graduate School in May, and I got a master's in global policy and a concentration in climate policy. And not long after I graduated, Jay and I kind of connected through LinkedIn, and he's the founder of Symbiotic. And after I kind of heard a lot about his mission for Symbiotic, embedding philanthropy into business transactions to create kind of alternative fundraising for nonprofits working towards the SDGs, I decided that I really wanted to be on the team. So, really excited to be moderating today. It's been wonderful working with Jay as the Chief Impact Officer. And Jay, I'll give you a chance to introduce yourself and a little bit more about Symbiotic.
Well, thanks, Hannah. We appreciate your everything to get to this point and your character and whatnot. So, hello, everybody. I'm Jay Frank from New York City. I am the founder and CEO of Symbiotic, which is a startup looking to brand social impact in transaction. We're looking to connect motivated buyers looking for sustainability and social impact to sellers primed for profit and purpose over channel sales, which addresses $3 trillion of spend, with more or less carving social impact in the transaction between the buyer and the seller. We have the mechanism to shift the premise from profit only to profit and purpose. And we're happy to host this roundtable with you all to discuss what we're all passionate about, the earth and disrupting business as usual for better outcomes for the planet. So thanks for joining us, and we look forward to a lively discussion.
Yeah, so I think I'll just go around to each of you. Just, I'll say your name and you can introduce yourself. So, Paul Show, I'll start with you.
Okay, thank you very much, Hannah. I will start by introducing myself. My name is Folorun Oluwafemi. I'm the founder of Lights Up Africa Initiative. As I said earlier, an initiative that educates, train, and also sensitize people about climate change and the effects and solutions, and as well bring solutions and opportunities to women and children in rural communities in Northeast Nigeria. I've been doing this for a while. I'm also a certified public procurement officer under the Office of the Presidency of Nigeria, Bureau of Public Procurement. I have 6 years working experience working with National Biotechnology Development Agency, a research institute. I work with one of the centers here in Taraba State, Jalingo, which is the capital. I'm passionate about climate because I've seen the effects of climate, and I don't want my children to suffer the effects of climate. So I'm doing everything that's possible to make sure that we bring solution and reduce the emission of CO2 into the ozone layers as well, and also reduce the use of fossil fuel in the developed and developing countries around the world. Thank you so much. Nice meeting everyone.
Yeah, Balraj, I'll have you introduce yourself next.
Good. My name is Balraj Oti. I'm currently a fourth-year student at the University of Manitoba. Also, I'm currently undertaking an undergraduate research thesis on the social and business case for corporate sustainability. As I mentioned previously, I am a sustainable procurement assistant at the Office of Procurement at the University of Manitoba. I'm also a SDG coordinator at the University of Manitoba. I work with in partnership with the SDSN Youth Network. We kind of work on promoting and raising awareness on the SDGs on campus and just in the community in general. In the future, I'm planning on pursuing a master's degree in sustainability management and having a career in corporate sustainability or sustainable procurement in that field and such.
That's awesome. I'm excited to see your future master's education. Noah, you can introduce yourself next.
Sure, what a cast. Well, Folorun Show and Balraj, so nice to hear both your stories, and I'm really excited to be here with you both, and of you, of course, Hannah and Jay. Noah Miller, I'm the founder of Row Impact, or an ESG advisory and software company. I also run our ESG advisory practice. We work with entities from public brand name companies to innovative startups to public-private partnerships like with the UN, which we're currently supporting. So really working with stakeholders across society to create new business models, new approaches for addressing these challenges we're here to talk about. So yeah, really looking forward to diving in. And, I think it's a super timely discussion here with the climate risk disclosure regulations in the US going into effect, most likely in Q1 of next year. And what does that mean for suppliers and procurement leaders like yourselves? So really relevant timing for this discussion, and excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we can really just dive right into it. And I just sent Hajaratu the link again, so she might be joining us shortly. But yeah, let's just start right off the bat with what extent and how should companies market their sustainability efforts? And really, you can think about how some of your organizations market their sustainability efforts. What kind of actions have you guys seen going on in that space thus far?
Well, I'll start off on that one. Well, what we've seen is a lot of people being sued for greenwashing, and then a lot of people making significant money and value creation from the technical and accurate marketing of what they're actually doing. So, what I would say around any marketeer or anyone discussing their efforts is you need to have two critical things for every collateral, every campaign, any marketing activity. That is the narrative, what you're doing and why, and the numbers. How good are you doing it? One without the other results typically in greenwashing. One without the other also typically results in confused stakeholders because of the lack of context that the numbers provides to the narrative and vice versa. So I would say, if anything, that's all I would hope people would walk away with from my perspective is the narrative and the numbers always has to be there in any sort of sustainability, ESG, impact communications effort.
Absolutely. And just, briefly, Hajaratu, really great to see you on the call. If you would just like to introduce yourself real quick. Oh, are you able to hear us, Hajaratu? Okay, well, if you'd like to introduce yourself later in the chat, that is totally all right too. I can give kind of a brief introduction. She's a group owner at Center for Sustainable Africa Agenda, skilled in government procurement and public procurement, and also is the Chief Executive Officer for GEM Africa Consulting Limited. Also has a master's in operations and supply chain management. So if she gets back on, that's just a little bit of her background. Hopefully tech issues work out. But yeah, as we were saying, I really agree totally with what you said, Noah. It's all about the narrative and it's all about the numbers, providing that transparency for people. Full did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, actually, I think he said one or two things that I've been able to pick. You understand as well. I'll be able to gain about what you said. If I would say that at extent, at very large extent, you understand, like please can you recap the question, please? Let me get that question again, please.
Yeah, sure. What extent and how should companies market their sustainability efforts? And Noah was just talking a lot about how, like, the two most critical aspects of that he feels are the narratives and providing, proper numbers for people.
Yeah, I think in a very large extent, in a very, very large extent, it's something you cannot measure, you understand, because and how should companies market their sustainability efforts? I think the companies as well the companies of the world, depending on what they are doing, some maybe under the production or service aspects, can as well, by partnering with those that really matters, with companies that really matters, you understand, in ways of, bringing into the sustainability. When you partner with those that have the same goals with you, the same target with you, you tend to work harder, you tend to go further. And also, you have to create a sustainable ability that lasts long in sustainable targets or vision. You understand? You just don't create a sustainable target that in a very short while it's going to go off, or it's the people will not see the effects of what you're trying to do. And looking at the other side of it, the way at which the company also have to redefine itself, its targets also matter. Redefining your targets as a corporate organization also matters in way of you marketing sustainability in either in service or production. You redefine itself like, okay, let's look at the climate change. You should expect a lot of companies should be moving out of using of fossil fuel down to either the renewable energy, either hydrogen, solar, so that they have to redefine yourself to be able to fit in a very long run, to be able to market your product. Because if the marketers, if some of your competitors, your consumer noticed you are also part of those that is bringing issue or bringing a lot of danger to the environment, they may decide not to patronize your product or your services any longer, because they will want you to redefine, to sit on the table to see, okay, how should we go off from this place and move to the next part that can be useful to our people and to our products and services as well.
Right. I like something that you mentioned earlier about how like there needs to be kind of like more kind of long-term project implementation like in the sustainability world, right? You know, a lot of these projects to really like have the impact that's needed, you know, they need a lot more runway. And Balraj, I was just wondering if you wanted to comment on this or if there's any kind of like marketing efforts that you might have seen at the University of Manitoba.
Yeah, for sure. I just kind of want to build on what Noah mentioned earlier too, because it kind of resonated with me, the narratives portion. I think it's
Yeah.
really important for that, building a good narrative in that sense and providing transparency with that narrative, because it can help conscious consumers kind of see what products they need to look for and what products kind of resonate with them. And I think it'll really help conscious consumers that are like on the border, like are trying to become more conscious with their consumption, because the transparency and the narrative can help bridge the knowledge gap in that sense and bring more conscious consumers to the fold and increase the amount of sustainable products that are bought. Within the University of Manitoba, often we're focusing on kind of implementing our EV fleet instead of transitioning away from gas-powered vehicles to more EVs within our research fields, within our fields within just like security and stuff on campus and stuff like that. But I think another portion of it is kind of providing a narrative and transparency with that, because the University of Waterloo, they do a really good program with that. I think learning from others and having a narrative and transparency is a very important aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. How
Yeah,
about
fast.
you?
Yeah.
Oh.
Hello.
Hey,
Hello.
I don't know if you heard your introduction earlier. Can you hear us all right?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, awesome. Glad to have you on the call. I gave everybody a little bit of an introduction of you earlier. I don't know if you wanted to kind of add on to that.
Okay. Just a minute. Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. My name is Hajar Sons. I'm the CEO of GM Africa Consult Limited and the owner of co-founder or founder of Sustainable Africa Agenda.
All right. Thank you for being on the call with us. I think really, Balraj, the kind of point that you kind of just made can really kind of extend into some of the other questions that we had today. I think we could go to the how can companies increase transparency to conscious consumers, just to kind of like build off of, you know, kind of our discussion already, and Balraj, the points that you just made. How can we kind of, how can companies further increase their transparency? We've kind of talked about how that's really critical, you know, to really, for any of these businesses, right? But what efforts have you guys seen made, or, you know, what efforts do you think should be made in the future?
Yeah, transparency is very important. I think customers can be allowed inside the organization for audit purposes at any time. So a lot of visibility is necessary. The company shouldn't be seem to be shelving information. They should be free to let people know what they are doing.
Absolutely.
It's very important. Yes, it's very important that.
ESG. Did
Yes.
any-
So at any point in time, it is
Sorry.
necessary that they come. Hello.
Yep,
Yeah, I
sorry.
can hear you.
We're having a
My
little,
network is not very good. Yeah.
yeah, we're
Hello?
having a little bit of a hard time hearing you. I don't know if anybody else is. On my end, I'm having a little bit of trouble.
My
Yeah, I
network
can
is not
hear you.
very good. You can hear me. Eh?
I can hear you.
Okay. So audits are very important. Compulsory audits. And sometimes a company should also open its doors to customers or any interested party at any point in time
That's true.
to go through their books, to go through their processes, etc., to ensure that they are doing sustainable procurement or they are thinking sustainably. So that is
Absolutely. And Balraj, do you know of any efforts that are kind of being done either at your university or elsewhere to kind of provide more transparency, like maybe perhaps within your procurement department or maybe other efforts elsewhere?
One of the big things that we're kind of doing is just making sure like electronics we buy are third-party certified with Energy Star, different levels and stuff. We try to reach the gold level, but it always isn't possible. But we do strive for that. And I think that in just general as well, just third-party certifications are crucial to help conscious consumers make the right decision because they can look at a product and see if it's B Corp certified, if it's fair trade or anything else that really resonates with them and what they're trying to achieve as a conscious consumer, because some are trying to more passionate about the social side of sustainability and the environmental side, and to see a third-party certification that reaches out more towards them and resonates within them, I think it can really help shift the trend towards more green products and more sustainable purchasing from the general public as well as within a university.
Right, so this could really make a difference, for really everybody to have a better idea as to what they're purchasing, have more products that are actually having like a green impact as opposed to greenwashing. It really sounds like a lot of these kind of third-party certifications can kind of provide, extra transparency for a lot of these companies and whatnot. Noah, is there anything that you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I think and this is more operationally than from a communication standpoint, and I think relevant to the group here. It's if you're going to have good product transparency at the consumer level, you need good supplier transparency, right? And good supply chain transparency. So that's a part of ensuring you're able to have traceable, transparent, and auditable information about what you're purchasing and putting on the shelves. You need to be able to, and Father Rancho, you had mentioned this in the beginning, have good supplier partners that understand the need for having good data integrity, good information sharing, and making sure that all of this is assured and validated by a third party. So it doesn't become the trust us for our word scenario, which we know is, consumers are skeptical of that right now. So I would say that product level transparency really begins with how you engage your supply chain ultimately.
Absolutely. Is there anything else anybody wanted to add to that before we move to the next topic?
I think, Anna, let me add to that what you said, where it's
Yeah.
what other colleagues of mine have been able to say, other speakers. Transparency is really something that really matters in business, which transparency is for itself, it means trust. Yeah, every organization have to be opening up, even if as an organization, if you're not meeting up to the level of sustainability of your products or your services you're offering your customers, you have to let them know about it. You have to be bold enough to let them know about it. Like, okay, this product is not up to this. And also there should be policies, there should be laws, you understand, in each organization, in each corporate organization that which be able to help them to maintain their sustainability, you understand, to satisfy the customers itself, because we have a lot of customers. Some customers are very conscious of what they consume. They want to know how we procure all your items or whatever you're getting down from the raw material to the processing and to the finished goods. So some are very, they look at all these things, they go background check. So you as a corporate or as an organization, you have to let them know what is happening. You have to be, open up to them. This you gain their trust as well. And you can also let them know whenever you made an error, it shouldn't be something you have to cover up. You should learn how to say sorry as an organization and also find way to pick for compensation. You compensate them if the error is from the organization itself. So these are ways you can use to gain the trust of your consumers, because the consumers itself, once they know that you are a kind of person, you are a very open up person, your audit, your informations, your raw materials, everything they know about it, the trust will go on and they'll be able to purchase more of whatever an organization is doing or whatever they have to offer them. Thank you. I think that's what I just want to add to it.
Yeah, thank you for all of that. I think that honestly, like a lot of these organizations are facing even more pressure today to be open and transparent due to, Generation Z and people, younger millennials. There's a lot more people that want to make sure that there is like social impact with their transactions and want to make sure that, that there definitely is more scrutiny, as we're talking about today, for greenwashing amongst young people. So I think that building these kinds of relationships with your consumers is growing to be even more important and will grow even more so in the next upcoming decades. So I think that really leads us into the next question. We've discussed this in various capacities already. It's already come up in conversation. But I wanted to touch on it. How can the world at large achieve greener procurement? So, some of you are procurement officers, some of you are in the realm of ESG. What can businesses do to actually implement some of these, greener procurement options? Because a lot of the research that I've done suggests that, 7 in 10, like IT companies, for instance, want and have some sort of ESG program implemented, but a lot of them, it's just kind of wishy-washy. They're not really certain which way to go. They're just trying their hardest, but they're not experts in the field, a lot of these companies. So what would your advice be for people that are procuring services, right? What is your advice for them to easily get more sustainable, get more sustainability in their purchasing?
I have some thoughts here, but wanted to pass it to maybe one of the procurement leads who might want to take it first.
Actually, okay. Let me see if I let me see if I can say one or two things about green procurement. Green procurement. I attended a conference in India of recent about how the body of procurements all worldwide, like conference, whereby we have to talk about the green procurements. How can we achieve a sustainable green procurement in the world at large, and how is it going to? It's a very broad topic, and it's something I feel that every nation, every country, the world at large needs to come together to achieve green procurement, because we can't continue to be, as a procurement officer, as a procurement professionals, to be the one to purchase items that will cause harm to the environment and to the consumer as well. We need to look at the other way around. We need to look at the alternative at which to also assist the world, saving the world disasters that is happening through the climate change. And back then, I was able to learn how most companies are now switching most of their energy at which they use for production, at which they consume, how they reduced it, and how they are having alternative because of some that really they are looking at, okay, if we are making use of maybe 1,000 liters of diesel, we should be able to reduce it to like maybe 500, then have an alternative of solar energy. That also will help to reduce the consumption of energy of diesel being the fossil fuel at which they used. So green procurement itself stands every way, you understand, like in everything we are doing. And if I want to get some things. I shouldn't purchase things that I know that these are very raw materials and it takes a lot of CO2 gas emission to produce. I should look for something lesser that at which I know that these companies, they also are there in the line of reducing disaster in the world. So these are ways that a lot of ways at which the bodies are coming together. We look at the renewable energy, we look at the opportunity, we look at the cutting down of unnecessary machines machines that are not really useful. We should go and we should make use of the modern technologies, AI that have less that use less that consume less electricity or less energy, whereby we use the latest energies and latest equipment that are more efficient and that are easy to operate. So these are ways that I think we as a procurement professionals, we can as well look at this. Okay, if we are the company said we need a diesel generator, and there is an option for solar, we should be able to advise the company that let's go for solar, because at the long run this is going to save us a lot of cost, and we're also helping our environment for out of pollution and emission of CO2 to the atmosphere. So there are a lot of ways I think we can come together and see how we can help the world at large in achieving a green procurement in their own way, in our own way as well. So I'll leave the floor to Mila. Let me also hear one or two things you're trying to contribute as well.
Yeah. Really well said. I appreciate those thoughts there. So ultimately, I think the procurement officer, the procurement leader is really the unsung hero of a company's climate impacts, or it has the biggest area of leverage in terms of what the enterprise can do. Because we know at this point that the majority of a company's emissions are their scope 3 emissions, what's happening upstream and downstream. When we think about the supply chain and all the downstream procurement and purchasing of goods and services, you're looking at the majority of your emissions footprint. So when you're thinking of how can procurement, cut the sort of environmental impacts, improve sustainability performance, reduce climate risk exposure, et cetera, a couple tactical things come to mind immediately. One being, you need to have an explicit supplier code of conduct for their sustainability performance, that they are tracking or setting goals, tracking implementation and reporting on that performance, that they have the policies, practices, governance structure, performance measures that they're tracking to be able to actually reduce their own impacts, which ultimately are your impacts as the buyer. Another core area just to green the supply chain is to make it smaller, right? We know that right now, we've never had a greater example of the interdependencies and the weaknesses of our global supply web, in that whether it's a whistleblowing event that makes the whole facility team walk off the floor, or here recently with the baby formula shutdowns, that was all continued and perpetuated from floods. The buildings were flooded. They couldn't get them up and running again. So the point being, climate risk, social risks, all of these things are occurring across the value chain. And the only way as a procurement officer to really address that is to explicitly lay out your criteria, work with suppliers that share those commitments and can demonstrate performance on it, and then try to gradually shorten that supply chain so you have better oversight of it and better sort of proximity for collaboration in addressing those shared impacts. Those are just a few kind of tactical things that we are often working with our suppliers on. Your huge, big question mark is your supply chain. It's where the majority of your impacts are happening. How do we begin? Well, we begin by laying out a criteria that we want folks to follow, and we're going to work with folks that want to prioritize this as their part of their business. So those are just a few thoughts on like, how do you immediately tactically start doing this and putting it into motion?
Yeah, thank you for that great insight, Noah.
Yeah, kind of building on the criteria that you mentioned at the University of Manitoba, we're kind of focusing on implementing sustainable initiatives within the vendor agreements. We're kind of looking at what they provide sustainability, what they provide socially, and what they provide regarding Indigenous procurement as well. because we are trying to implement all of those. And as you mentioned, a big part of it is vendor agreements and seeing what they bring to the table, and if we want to bring them on as a vendor and see what they can do. But kind of in general, I think another important part of it is kind of learning from each other, like partnerships, like kind of what we're doing now, kind of just learning from each other, seeing what other people's experiences are. And as you mentioned, Hannah, some IT companies aren't good at the ESG implementation, but I think learning from each other, like one of them might be good at supply chain, one of them might be good at transportation or other aspects of it, and they can learn little bits and parts from each other. And overall, we can achieve a greener world in that way, because we're all learning from each other, we're all collaborating with each other and bringing a big idea together, like little small pieces from everywhere.
I really like that collaborative learning. Like, I really like that. And Folorancho, there was something that you said earlier. You talked about how, green procurement professionals really need to come together. People from all over the world need to come together to collectively act on this issue. So I really liked that point. And Jay, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to tag along there and talk about just direct communication and asking for, what is wanted, and sharing, collaborating, best practices, or they seem like the obvious choice from my perspective, but sometimes having conversations or just the ability to listen to potential vendors sharing new opportunities, from my perspective, trying to come through the business world with Symbiotic, disrupting business as usual. It has been rather difficult, but just one tidbit of trying to be open to collaborative suggestions for better outcomes. And
yeah, I think that really just leads us into, I think, really the kind of last question that we really had for today. And I think that, once again, a lot of these are pretty tied into each other. So we've kind of had some discussion about this already. But we kind of just wanted to close out with just talking about some challenges in business ESG, implementation. So, a lot of, like I was saying earlier, Balraj, like you said, there's a lot of kind of IT companies and companies from a lot of different industries that are, that have the interest in implementing some ESG strategies. They have the interest in kind of making their company work better. And there's lots of professionals out there that can provide third-party certifications, but it's really challenging, I think, right now, where there's not really, I guess, one kind of certification that people are typically using in this field. So everybody is kind of measuring everything differently. All companies are reporting kind of different aspects of their emissions. So there's not really the same reports coming from each company. What do you think can be done in the future to, improve and make it easier for businesses overall to, implement ESG strategies? What do you think can make it simpler in the future? And also just any kind of other thoughts that you'd like to add at the end of the roundtable.
Well, I'll grab one of them, the ESG front. There's got to be some resources behind it. Plain and simple, it's like things matter when you focus on it. And if you're not focusing on it with capital, people, resources, energy, it's just not going to happen. And I think that, unfortunately, you have a lot of companies that get sued before they actually invest in the work that needs to happen in this space. Whether it's a class action lawsuit, something from the SEC, or they're just canceled, right? The whole brand cancellation in today's environment. In terms of what companies can do to get things off the ground, I would say a couple things. One, stumble forward. As long as you're moving forward, it's better than staying still, because you're going to be dinged either way. You're going to get dinged for not doing anything. At least if you're doing something, there is a road to improvement, and at least you're stumbling uphill. Your aim is higher. Secondarily, it needs to be fully integrated into the daily operations of the business. If it is not fully integrated, it is just a peripheral sort of sidebar that might be nice to speak to in a 1980s CSR conference, but in 2022, that's a class action lawsuit. That's fraud. There are serious repercussions for making any claims that aren't backed by auditable, transparent data, or just making outlandish kind of woke washing claims around your social purpose or your DEI commitments. So ultimately, I think it's around finding the business case, making it explicit and socialized within a group. So it shows not only do we want to do this because it's the right thing to do for the world to exist and our business to make money off the world, our business has a lot of opportunity and value to capture by addressing these changing stakeholder expectations, reducing the regulatory constraints, and really capturing the moment where everyone wants to work with companies that are driving this forward. So I would say it's really recognizing that at this point, it's not about compliance and it's about competitive advantage. And if that switch can be made in the investments made, in the time and energy, and treating it like a real business priority, we're going to be in a lot better place. And, hopefully Symbiotic can be a part of that, every company's journey in that transition.
Thank you, Noah. Any other thoughts, Balraj?
Yeah, no, as you mentioned, the competitive advantage is an important aspect. I'm kind of talking about that a lot in my undergraduate research thesis, and the impact of it, because there is a large demand for sustainable products and green products. Like, I've had family members that go to the grocery store looking for cleaning supplies, and they buy the bottle that's green, even though it might be greenwashed. They don't know the difference, but they are still making the effort to buy it. And I have to let them know, like, this is not the brand that you want to be buying. This is greenwashing. This is what greenwashing is. And I think that's an important aspect to address, because the demand is there. I've had family members that want to get stuff, but they don't know how to. So providing the third-party certifications, having a standardized reporting process, like a GRI, Global Reporting Initiative or Index, I think, just kind of implementing that and working on that and having the same reporting index and meeting that demand for sustainable products, because the demand is there. It's just meeting the demand, and can provide a huge business opportunity for a lot of existing and developing businesses.
I really like what you said about how the demand is there. And Noah, I really like what you said about how people need to stumble uphill. You gotta make those efforts. They might be difficult to implement at first, but and like you said, if you're not making it the absolute core of your business, it can't just be a sideline issue. Sustainability needs to be at the core and of the main mindset of a lot of these companies and businesses. Folarancho, I was wondering if you'd like to add anything.
Actually, I don't really have much to say. I think Mila and Gerard, they've done justice to the question, but I still feel like, as I said earlier, it's all about cooperation in the business aspect, and also the law of what's Mila mentioned about in some aspect whereby what you think was happening in the 80s, if you're bringing into practice, some of them may land into some troubles or difficulties, or even destroy the business that you're trying to start, and even bankrupt you. So these are very good points at which he has been able to buttress on, because that really catch my mind, because as the times change and everything is happening, everything there's an audit in every information, and every policies have been amended to fit into this current situation. So it's expected that organizations as well should also learn to to work in this aspect, to also be bringing the best to the table, in order for them to to have a sustainable achievements in their organization. So that's just the need. So I just have to chip in.
Right. So there's really I think big messages from today. There's like consumer demand for more sustainable products, but there's also the pressure from just regulations now. And especially like all around the world. I know I recently saw on LinkedIn, I believe a couple months back, H&M having a huge lawsuit. A lot of these fast fashion brands that are, claiming sustainability, that is they've ended up having huge lawsuits. So there's definitely more pressure to do accurate reporting out of just like necessity. And then also the pressure from consumers, which it's good to see kind of pressures on both ends, because that's going to create better outcomes for our planet for sure. Hajaratu, I was wondering if there were any thoughts that you'd like to share just at the end of the roundtable. Okay, there might be some internet issues there, but oh, Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hello.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you wanted to share any just, final thoughts as we're just closing out the roundtable.
Yeah, there's also the perception that sustainable products are too expensive. So I think there should be a lot of awareness creation on that. And those companies who are manufacturing the renewable products should also try as much as possible to create enough market visibility for other companies or information for customers so that they can find where their products are and then get hold of them to ensure that sustainable procurement is carried out smoothly in our organizations. I'm sorry for my voice.
It's
So,
totally
so this is
okay.
it. So this is a very, very important, very, very important. For us at Sustainable Africa Agenda, we have a pilot project we are undertaking because we think that it is important that procurement professionals are trained very well so that they can undertake sustainable procurement in their various organizations. Very, very, very important. So we are considering partnering organizations who are interested to join us so that we can train professionals, procurement professionals in Africa. Because we believe that if we take procurement as an important area to do sustainable procurement, it will help bring down carbon emissions and bring down sustainability will go up. So that's very, very important. It's very, very, very important that we consider procurement as a tool to bring the climate change to work. So we're interested
Hajaratu, I'm having a little bit of a hard time hearing you.
so that will help nations to bring down pollution. Yeah, hello.
I'm so sorry. We had a little bit of a hard time just hearing the end of that. Apologies, for just tech issues today, but we really do appreciate having you here. And I was able to hear, part of your message about just the importance of sustainable procurement, the importance of these conversations, and the importance for businesses to start to act. But I'm really sorry, we lost you a little bit at the end. So I do apologize for that.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm back. I think.
Is it better?
Yeah. Okay.
Slightly better.
Hello.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I think we'll probably.
Hello?
Oh, I think we're probably just gonna close off here if that's all right with everybody. But I just really want to thank all of you guys for being here. And Hajaratu, I'm really sorry for some of the tech issues, but we really appreciate having you here with us today as well. Folaranshu, thank you so much for sharing your insights in procurement, and same with you, Balraj. Really excited to hear about your future. Hope you get a master's. I'm really excited for you and your education journey. And Noah, of course, always great to have you. And Jay, any last thoughts that you'd like to share with the group?
Absolutely. Well, I wanted to thank you, Hannah, for doing a wonderful job moderating. You're a natural moderator. Thank you, everybody, for your inputs on sustainability and the utmost need and opportunity for disruption of business as usual for better outcomes. We are all concerned citizens here, and if we can collaborate and take the high road, we can be the change we need to see. So I appreciate everybody's commitment towards ESG, and hope to continue the discussion, and grateful to host this conversation. So wish you all the best on your journeys, and please reach out to me for any one-on-one conversations. I'm open to the symbiotic perspective in this realm. You know, we certainly didn't want to do anything but host your perspectives. And thank you very much for your time and voice today. Wish you all the best.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks,
thank
guys. I've learned a lot about procurement today.
Thanks, everyone. It's nice to meet everybody.
All right. Have a
Absolutely.
good one, guys.
Goodbye.
Yeah, thanks, Hannah. Bye.